Engagement Bookcast. My name is Doug Fine. Glad that you're here with me today. This is episode 6 with author and L&D professional leadership expert Laura Sukorokoff. And she wrote the book, It's Not Them, It's You, Why Employees Break Up with Their Managers and What to Do About It. We're going to be discussing a situation with a woman named Caitlin, and we're going to learn about that leadership trait, consideration. Laura spells it out well for us. Welcome back, Laura Sukorokoff.
Hi, everybody. It is a Defined Engagement Bookcast, and I'm here today with Laura Sukorokoff. She's the author of It's Not Them, It's You, Why Employees, quote, break up with their managers and what to do about it. A fantastic book. And welcome back, Laura. Good to see you.
Oh, thank you so much, Doug. It's really always a pleasure to see you. And I'm so pleased to be chatting with you and your audience again today.
Good. Hey, I want to tell you a little bit of my thoughts. Just this is a really, really, really good book.
Oh,
and
thank you.
I think that L&D people that do leadership development, I think they ought to, go out and get copies of this, have a class based on it. You could get it done in, maybe a couple of days, have them read it, talk about the cases, their case studies. It's just fantastic. And Laura, more and more I read, it's just, you know your stuff. You know about leadership. It's not, you know what good leaders do and what poor leaders do. You're grounded in that. I mean, I think it kind of like comes out of your pores. Sound, healthy, progressive, human leadership for what working people deserve in their work life. So that's why I love this book. I think you ought to get it. It's Not Them, It's You by Laura Sukorokoff. And thank you again for joining me.
Oh, yeah, it's completely my pleasure. Thanks for having me.
I just gushed.
Well, and I just love it. I'm lapping up the gushing. So
good.
Thank you.
You deserve it. You deserve it.
I think I heard today on a podcast, somebody was talking about how, the culture is sometimes it's this point of view of, bring your puppy to work and it's all soft and fluffy and warm and fuzzy. And where is the business in all of this? And that's not what this is about.
No.
In fact, I think one of the things that people pick up on and that I hope comes through in the book is that these are things that managers can and should do that actually drive the business forward. This isn't about being best friends with your employees. It isn't about giving them everything they ask for and creating a soft and fluffy business environment. This is about putting the focus on the employee to develop them, to help them grow, to help them and inspire them to do great work. And that benefits everybody. This is very much a business strategy.
Yes.
And so while this is absolutely soft skills based, this is an actual, business imperative in my point of view. Actually treating employees as your most valuable asset is a business imperative. Yeah.
I think that someone said somewhere in my travels about, soft skills are hard skills. It's not, you can use tech, you can build your hard skills, analytics, and you can go to school for that.
Absolutely.
But you can't necessarily go to school for proper emotional intelligence kinds of things. You can learn, but but people come to work and people come to work, like whole and broken people come to work, and they may not have the best skills to treat their coworkers right, treat their manager right, their manager treating people right. So soft skills are hard skills for some. And the other thing that I've heard said that maybe soft sometimes gets in the way, and I heard it said primary skills. That's a kind of a cool way of of dealing with those kinds of skills that everybody should show up to work with. Communication skills and empathy for others and respect for others. Those are like primary things that need to be within a person, I guess, as they join a company. So, I would not say that there's no, count on it, people. There's no warm puppy dogs in this book, but there's a heart in the book.
Mm-hmm.
So, and then there's a broken heart on the cover.
Yeah.
Well, a broken heart on the cover because work, people are people and they show up. Tell me a little bit more about your idea about humans showing up at work.
Sure. Okay. So firstly, let me talk to the broken heart graphic and the why I talk about breaking up with your manager. And that's because people, when they start a job, they are bringing themselves into that job. Make no mistake, work is personal. It really is. People are putting forward their efforts. I don't think there are very many people in the world that actually don't care about the quality of work they do. If they don't care, it's because they've been driven to that feeling of not caring. But pretty much everybody starts a job with the intention of being really good at what they do. And they pour themselves into it. And they bring their ideas, their innovation, their sweat, their tears in some case, their frustrations, their whole bodies, and they pour it into the work that they do.
I like it. I've heard it said with this, a way to say it is you want their heart, you want their head, you want their hands, and you want their whatever.
Right.
Heart, head, hands, and something else.
I can't remember what it is, but it'll come to us as soon as this podcast is over.
That's what an engaged person brings.
Absolutely. And when they do that, they're doing great work.
Yeah.
And alongside this inspired great work comes increased customer satisfaction. It's been long said, and actually Richard Branson said it really super well. If you make your employees happy, then your customers will be happy. I'm paraphrasing. He said it in a much better quote-worthy way, but that was the gist of it. Happy employees lead to happy customers. Happy customers spend more money. Happy customers refer others.
And
happy customers come back for more. Exactly. And that increases your bottom line. But guess what else? Happy employees are more innovative. They feel freer to offer their points of view and their ideas and really use their talents for the good of the company. And when you foster this sense, they create things that can drive your company forward in ways that you may never have imagined as a business owner or as a leader of a company. So to me, there is little downside to making an employee happy. And making an employee happy, folks, does not mean bringing puppies to work or giving them, unlimited time off or, expensive perks. Making them happy, as we see in my book, is about developing a relationship with them and understanding them on a personal level and showing them some of the things you mentioned before: empathy, support, empowering them, and, giving them some consideration.
Well,
what they do.
Funny you should say that.
Yeah. So you caught my segue, did you?
I did, yeah. So today, anyway, love what you're saying, Laura, and you believe it and you teach it. And
I do. I really do believe it.
I know you are. I know you do. So we're going to talk about Caitlin today. You have 7 characters in your book, and you talk about you don't use their real names, but they had an experience at work. And Caitlin worked at a retail establishment as a part-timer. So that was really cool. It's different than the other scenarios that you shared. So you want to tell us a little bit about Caitlin and every first letter of these people's name goes with a trait, a leadership trait. And we're going to talk about consideration. Caitlin and consideration today. You want to just kind of give us the highlights of Caitlin?
Absolutely. Now, before I launch too far into Caitlin, I do want to just address what you said about how her story just the fact that she's a part-time retail worker is a little bit different than the others in the book. I try to, with this book, represent a number of different areas of business, number of different types of businesses. There were a few reasons. Firstly, because I would like people to identify with the managers in these books, and if this is a manager in a retail setting that is reading this, they may see themselves in this story, or certainly they can relate to this. I wanted something relatable to a large cross section of managers in business. But also, I wanted to show that, bad manager behavior is not specific to a certain industry or a certain level of management. It happens across the board. It happens in large companies, it happens in medium-sized companies, and it happens in mom and pop types of businesses.
And this was kind of a mom and pop story. It wasn't, it was an interesting business, sports apparel, I think, or sportswear, but the owner was the problem. The owner of that store where Caitlin worked part-time.
Yeah, exactly.
He was the boss. Was it a he or she? Anyway.
And you know what? That's another thing. So it was a she, but it actually, that's another thing.
That's not relevant.
Bad behavior is not gender specific.
Yes.
It's gender neutral.
Yeah.
So all genders are represented well or badly, I guess, depending on which side you want to look at it from. So Caitlin worked part-time for, as you said, a specialty retailer. This was in sporting equipment, and she really enjoyed working where she worked because she got to see a lot of people that she competed against, when she was participating in the sport. She got to see a lot of the people at the higher echelons of the sport.
Cool.
So, there was a certain amount of meeting her heroes.
Cool.
And it really did mesh so well with her interests. And she, this was being a specialty retail store. It wasn't like an IKEA or something where it's just like tons of people coming and going.
Right.
It was much smaller, much more intimate, and she could have conversations with these people. In other words, she could really get to know them. Of course, the big advantage of getting to know them is she not only could drill down to what they really needed and solve their immediate problem, but she would also understand them. And she would be able to solve their future problems. She was the sort of person that would take the initiative to pick up the phone and say, hey, we've got these in stock, and I know you were talking about them before. Do you want them? So anyway, a little bit more background on Caitlin. She started as a teenager working for this company. She was just finishing high school. And this is another message that I wanted to bring forward with the book. Just because somebody's a teenager, that doesn't mean that they're a bad employee. And, we tend to have these discriminatory points of view about people. And I don't believe we should. We should be looking at employees as individuals, not painting. I have difficulties with the generational stereotypes.
Sure.
But
I love to tell the story, and I won't go into it, but bottom line is I have a son that's 26 now, but he's a millennial, and the doggone guy worked really, really hard and still working hard on with his work as a career. And he never once displayed any kind of anything at work anyway that anybody would peg him for the stereotype. Right. And I'm sure your your daughter is growing up in the same way. It's like you don't see all that. You don't see these quote unquote traits that worry you. I didn't anyway with my son.
I mean, sure, of course, some of these things are, they exist. They do, of course. Stereotypes are created for reasons because these are traits that are seen in a large cross section of people of that demographic. However, that doesn't mean that the individual in front of you espouses these same negative traits that you have in your mind. So, and that was certainly the case with this young woman. And she, she really enjoyed her work. She was good at it. And to her credit, the store owner started giving Caitlin more responsibility, so that she was able to, be, I guess, a little bit more involved in the business. she wasn't bored at the quiet times. Caitlin was always of the point of view that if the business is quiet and but you're still being paid, then you should be finding something to do. So when she was telling me her story, she told me that she would often spend a good part of her days doing things like re-merchandising the store or cleaning and, like cleaning all the windows and just making sure that everything was ready. So
she took personal responsibility in her job to go above and beyond what her job expected. So she had ownership of that situation, even as a teenager, even as a young adult. She had ownership. So I saw that in her. It's like, who wouldn't want Caitlin working for them? So keep going.
Yeah, well, exactly. So often in retail, we hear of these workers that seem to not give us stuff. They're lazy, or you have to give them direction all the time, or, they don't show up to work or what have you. We hear these stories all the time. So when you get somebody like Caitlin, who not only comes in to do the work that she's assigned to do, but also goes above and beyond, you would think that this is somebody that you would really want to hang on to. As a business owner, you would want to hang on to them. You would want to, be really appreciating what they do. At the very least, you would want to be communicating well with them and making them feel appreciated. Absolutely. And that is not what we found here. What Caitlin found is that she just wasn't respected. She felt not respected. There would be things like she would be left to work overtime quite a bit. The owner would come in at the 11th hour and dump a bunch of work on her, and she would have to do this work. Or she was told even, in the morning, first thing, this has to be done at the end of the day. Well, if it was a busy day in the store, it wouldn't get done. And so she would do this after hours. But she did bill for the extra time once and was punished for it, was reprimanded for it. So she stopped billing for this extra time. But
still did it?
And still did it. Now, I think it's important to note that she also worked by herself a lot. So she was a young woman working by herself in this store, left to accomplish all of these things. And being a kid, in so many ways, she felt like, okay, I have to stay here until it's done. She didn't feel right about leaving at the closing time. Oh, the other thing is, of course, now she often had the kind of clientele. Remember, I said before that they were talkers, these clientele. Gotcha. So sometimes they would stay after closing time as well. So I think you get the point, Doug. I mean, basically, this is a young woman who poured herself into her work. And she took pride. She also took pride in the work that she did and in the relationships that she built. And she really enjoyed it. So when I've been interviewing people, I asked them about their work, what they did. And then I asked them what happened. And when I asked Caitlin that question, what happened that changed everything? What she said was her boss one day came in with a new hire. And this new hire, she was introducing the new hire to customers. And Caitlin was there in her presence. She was introducing the new hire to customers as her new right hand. And thank goodness she'd finally found an employee who she could trust and believe in.
She said that?
She said that. Yeah, like the words to that effect, right? So what Caitlin immediately heard was, what do you think? You don't trust me. That's what she heard.
Yeah.
Yeah, this is, you finally got a person that can do the job well. You finally got a person that you can trust to do the job well. And what does that say about me?
Awful.
And so she immediately switched off. So this person who always kind of went above and beyond, who did the work happily, who had she had that entrepreneurial spirit. She really viewed the company as if it was her own and set about to do the best work she could. She started thinking, well, what's the point?
Mm-hmm.
And she, this was a young woman who also had been advocating to train new staff as they came on, and it did do that here and there, who'd been creating systems of communication, who had been really, again, thinking like an owner.
Mm-hmm.
She all of a sudden started thinking like a person who wanted a new job. And, here's the thing. She actually went traveling and used that as her out. Instead of finding a new job, she just thought, okay, I'm going away in a few months. So she worked until that point, quit to go traveling, and never went back, even though she was asked to go back.
I think I read that new woman got paid more too after Caitlin had been there, several years.
Mm-hmm.
And so they're bringing new people in at higher pay, which somehow Caitlin knew about. So tell me another. I think there was an instance where the store owner rearranged things. Caitlin did a great job.
Oh, yeah.
Just blew it up, blew up some good work for whatever reason.
Well, there was, on one of her shifts, Caitlin was told that she had to re-merchandise the store. Mm-hmm. And she was left, the practice had been that she could do what she wanted, mm-hmm. And the thing about retail is you do want a new look every now and then. So it looks like merchandise is turning over. It creates excitement for customers. So absolutely, she was game to do that. She'd done it many times before. This time she was told she had to stay until it was finished. She did that. She worked overtime to get it done. And the next time she came in, which was only a couple of days later, the store was completely redone. Mm-hmm. So what this said to her is all this work that she had put in was not worth it. Mm-hmm. That it wasn't appreciated.
So she was devalued. She was insulted. She wasn't respected. Help me understand Caitlin and consideration. Tell me about your use of the word consideration in the job as a leadership trait.
Right. So being considerate is about thinking of the impact. Consideration is about thought, putting thought into things. Okay. My feeling is, as a leader, you should have, as a leader, you have a strategy for your organization, be it a big organization or a small one. You have a strategic overview. So you should be considering all number of factors. And in the case of people like Caitlin, showing them some consideration, showing them that you think about things before you say it, that you have put some thought into the work that they do or the work that you would like them to do. If we take that merchandising example, if you are a leader and you would like your place merchandised in a certain way, then by all means communicate that to your staff members so that they carry it out the way you'd like it done. Mm-hmm. But when you ask them to just go ahead and use their own creativity, and then you change it all on them without a word said, without an explanation of why, you are showing not only a lack of respect for the work they did, but also a lack of consideration for the impact this is going to make. When you bring in a new employee who is touted as your new right hand, and thank goodness you finally found somebody you can count on, then there's a decided lack of consideration for the message that's being relayed to the existing staff members.
Absolutely. She also never really acknowledged. It sounds like she was really short. The boss, the manager, the owner was really short on acknowledgement of good work. Like that wasn't in her wheelhouse to show appreciation for her employees. So that in itself, people like that and people need it. And it's not a soft skill. Showing regular appreciation is really, really something managers must get better at, become an expert at.
Recognition programs there are so many out there that you can choose from. And actually, I think recognition, instead of these bonus programs, is a multi-billion-dollar industry.
Right.
But that's not required. I mean, those are nice to have for sure. And I think if you've got the bandwidth to be able to provide those for your employees, absolutely, that's a really nice thing to do. However, that does not take away from their need for you to acknowledge them and what they do. And this is on both sides, okay? So as I mentioned earlier, this is not a warm and fuzzy, soft kitten and puppy kind of concept. This is about consideration, is about having enough care and enough concern to provide feedback. And even if that feedback is negative, they still need to hear the feedback, okay? The feedback, when you're delivering it, should be done with consideration as well. What is the impact of the words that you were using, or the method of feedback that you are using, right? The mode of feedback is often a really strong indicator of how you feel about people. Like a sternly worded one-line email, you sucked at this, I'm changing everything, has a great deal of negative impact on people.
Yeah. It goes to the heart of developing your people, So I would like to hear that Caitlin's doing well. How's Caitlin doing? Do you know?
I do know, actually.
Okay.
Well, I don't know how she's doing, right now today.
Yeah.
But the last time I spoke with her, which was not all that long ago, she was doing very well. She is working for another retail organization. Loves it.
Good.
She's still part-time. She's in university, and she's very happy with her work. We connected at the beginning of COVID-19. So it was a bit crazy, in the retail environment, you don't know if you have a job or not, right? So she was also going through a lot of that flux, but the organization that she's currently with is being extremely good about communicating with her. And, they have been an example of what I'm talking about with consideration. They really were thinking about what is the impact of this on the employees? What do we need to communicate? And they can't handhold. They did, of course, say there may be layoffs, there may be work disruptions for you, but we are doing the best we can. So that communication, that understanding of what this all can mean to your employees, that's consideration, right?
That I actually kind of had a little brain thing here. It's like, I think that companies, how you said it's not warm fluffies and puppies and kittens and all that. That's not what this means. But actually, what it means, the flip side to that is being accurate and honest and laying out the real picture. And I would seem to think if your culture is, you want it to be soft and fluffy and everybody has fun or whatever, and then some bad news has to be portrayed or concerning realities of work. If they're used to soft blankets and puppies, and if they're used to that kind of treatment, when you have to get real, that's a double whammy, because they're not used to that. So that's something that we shouldn't be making like castles in the sky for people.
In fact, Doug, we hear about this stuff all the time. I'm sure people that have gone into their annual appraisal thinking that they were doing their work just fine all along, and then they get slammed in their appraisal. With this, no, you're a raise, forget it. You're lucky you still have a job. You sucked all year long. Wait, where did this come from? Right. And that loops me back to what I said about feedback. You need to be having conversations with I'm a strong believer that you should be having regular, frequent, consistent one-on-one conversations with your people.
That is the gold thread through your book.
Exactly. For me, that is, a baseline, and then you build on that. And if you are truly thinking about your employees, you will be having these conversations as they occur, these feedback conversations. Because think about it, if they're doing a good job and things are cooking along, but they start to go off the rails, you have a quick little one-on-one, little feedback conversation, you bring them back on the rails, and you've got a little blip in their work process. You get them back on the rails doing things, and things just chug along as they should. Okay. But if you don't address this at the time that it occurs, then people's, they're no longer on the rails. They've kind of come off the rails. They start moving in a different direction. And then you, at some point much later, slap them back. For one thing, you've got a bigger gap to span. So that takes us right back to the beginning where, I think this is a business imperative. You've got a bigger gap to make up there by too late feedback, but you've also got a real, real chink in your relationship.
Absolutely.
All of a sudden it's you've really hurt feelings, or you've really pushed them off their center of gravity.
How you describe the train on the track, or call it what you will, trolley on the track, and having to slap it back because you didn't do something when it was just a little bit off kilter. The result is a train wreck. See, if you slap that train back, you're going to spill it out, and everything goes everywhere, and the employee's surprised. And we shouldn't have surprises in performance discussions, So it turns into something much worse than it is, because you let it go long. And
absolutely. So if you are a considerate manager, I think you spend some time acknowledging good work when you see it. Absolutely. You mentioned a couple of words earlier. You mentioned undervalued and devalued.
Mm-hmm.
And I thought, wow, those are such great words, especially if we use Caitlin as our case study for this.
Yeah.
We see that she was undervalued. She had talents that she would like to have exercised, that she did exercise. And, they may have been appreciated, but she didn't know about it.
Mm-hmm.
So she felt a little bit undervalued there, or certainly underutilized at times. Then by bringing somebody in and touting that person as your new right hand, and you finally found somebody you can trust, she felt devalued. And when you devalue somebody, their immediate thing is, then why am I here?
Yeah,
I may as well go.
If we lose our self-esteem by somebody that said something or did something that would damage our self-esteem, we just kind of want to go in the corner and not and just wait and just avoid everything, because we don't want to have that feeling again.
Absolutely.
So I love what you said about acknowledgement and appreciation ongoing. That is life. That is the lifeblood, really, of someone that is doing good work. And
then on the flip side of that, acknowledge their accomplishments, celebrate their accomplishments with them, respect the work that they're doing, appreciate the work that they're doing. But on the flip side of that, if they are doing something that is not ideal, or that is taking them in a wrong direction, then you need to talk about that too. That communication, this recognition of the work. And I mean also the not so great work, recognizing it and then dealing with it as it occurs is super important to the success of the business, and super important to the success of the employees within the business. And I think that should be part of the repertoire.
I think I have a strong sense, it's not even a sense, Laura, you know it.
Mm-hmm.
It's hard. It's hard to confront people with
you mean with negative feedback?
Negative feedback, corrective feedback. It's no one likes it. And but I've always said when I train, and trust me, I struggle with that issue myself, but I just say it's not about you and how you feel if you have to correct somebody. It's about them.
Yes.
And what they need from you as their manager. You may feel real crummy because that's how you're rigged. You're rigged to be a people pleaser and be liked by everybody. But if you feel bad if you have to go off that script, but it's not about you feeling bad or good. It's about what they need from you as their boss. So
exactly. And I think when you are giving feedback, negative feedback, with consideration, you are doing it in such a way that they feel like, okay, I've learned and now I can grow. So when you say that it is about them, I love what you said. It is not about you. It is not about the company. It is about them. You are giving them this gift of knowledge of how to change it and to make it better. And you are saying to them, it's okay. Let's just fix it and move on. And that's a huge thing for people. We do tend to shy away from delivering bad news. But what is worse? Giving them feedback at the time when it's needed, or slamming them with this out of left field thing at a performance appraisal, and where they have they're wondering, and you know what they wonder is, well, why didn't you say something to me a long time ago? So, providing that kind of feedback is actually being very considerate. Again, it's about the delivery. So, there's a kindness, there's a pathos, there's a consideration that needs to be put into that, but that, in my opinion, comes out of having those regular, frequent one-on-one conversations, right? If you get to know somebody, you know how they will take this. Yeah.
Have your copy? Because mine's still flaking out.
Oh, yeah, sure. Where is my Oh, it's right here.
So why don't you hold it up?
There it is.
Tell
there
us
it
what
is.
the title of this fantastic book is again.
It's called It's Not Them, It's You. Why Employees Break Up with Their Managers and What to Do About It.
So we covered Caitlin today. We covered consideration, and we've gotten through 6 letters of the word respect.
Yeah. Doug, is it okay if I say one more thing on the subject of consideration?
Yeah,
There's
please.
one more thing that just kind of popped in my mind, and I wish I'd said it earlier. For me, this should start right at the beginning, perhaps even before they're hired, with understanding what people need from an organization. And this is maybe not part of Caitlin's story. Well, kind of it is, but it's certainly part of my learning and development story. I believe very strongly in onboarding, in helping people find their feet within an organization. So many companies offer little or no onboarding. They just have a sink or swim approach to starting in their company. And for me, I think that that's very inconsiderate. You have people who literally do not know where they are supposed to be or what they are supposed to be doing. And what a shame that is. Also, from a business perspective, it's a waste of time and money and effort. Like that's just like crazy. To provide some sort of onboarding and then subsequent training to help people stay on track, to help people grow and develop and be the thriving employees that organizations need them to be. I mean, that's true consideration. Yeah, and that they want to be.
They show up that way.
Yes, exactly.
So, Laura, thank you again for this. Thank you for talking about Caitlin and her questionable owner of the business. And I look forward. We're going to talk about Tom next time.
Yeah, we are.
And the T in respect. Let me. It's trust.
That's right.
We're going to talk about trust and a gentleman named Tom. And thank you again. You guys can learn at the bottom of this in the program notes. You're going to learn how to find Laura. She's readily available. She'll talk to you. She'll answer your emails. She'll do all that good stuff. Get a Zoom call with you. Look at this.
Sure.
So she'll do all that with you and help you in any way. I know that's who she is. So thank you, Laura, and we'll see you next time on the Defined Engagement Bookcast.
Thank you so much, Doug.
Bye-bye, everybody.
Bye.
Thank you again for being with me on the Defined Engagement Bookcast. Next time, we're going to talk about Tom. We're going to talk about trust from Laura Sukorokoff's book, It's Not Them, It's You. Find more bookcasts at anchor.fm/Doug-Fine. And you're welcome to look at my webpage. It's www.DougJFine.com. You'll learn more about the kinds of things I can do to help you. Again, many thanks for being here, and we'll see you next time on the Defined Engagement Bookcast. Bye-bye for now.